Hello and welcome to the Nature Unplugged podcast, where we are all about cultivating consciousness in the digital age. Let's get going. Hello, welcome to the podcast. Mic check.
Testing. Binker's bean.
Hello and welcome to the Nature Unplugged podcast. We are excited to be here with me, your host Sebastian Slovin, and with me, co-host Sonia Mohammed.
Hi, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning, Sonia.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's early, but we have our tea. We're going to be okay. All right. Well, I'm excited about this episode. Today, we are going to talk about how to get more green time. So, do you ever feel like you want to get out and experience nature more often, but aren't sure where to go, Sonia?
Sometimes.
Or are you looking to mix up your nature adventures?
Always.
Always.
Sometimes.
Wow.
Sometimes better.
Well, this episode is all about how to get more green time, nature time, aka nature time, into your life and, kind of by default, less screen time. We're going to talk about the benefits of nature. It's good to remind ourselves what the benefits of nature are. This has always been encouraging or inspiring to get outside more and get the benefits.
Yep.
For sure. We're also going to share some of our favorite tips and resources to help you enjoy the great outdoors more often and with greater ease. So this episode is all about ways to access nature more frequently and with more variety.
Sounds lovely.
Sounds lovely. Sonia, any Nature Unplugged updates? What do we have going on?
Yeah, we have launched our book, Experience Nature Unplugged, A Guide to Wellness in the Digital Age. It came out in March in both paperback and ebook formats. We even reached Amazon bestseller status.
Yay!
That was great and exciting. So if you haven't seen a copy of that yet or got your copy of that yet, we recommend you grab it. Lots of great resources in there. And then we also want to let you know a little bit more about our services. If you feel like you want a deeper dive to find balance between green time and screen time, we offer a ton of different services to help you, including our e-New wellness programs and walks, e-New adventures, retreats, and excursions, and even e-New workshops and presentations for teams and groups.
Yeah. Reach out to us if you'd like to do any of those things. We're ready.
We are.
Any other updates?
Those are the updates.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's talk about this. We've done this in previous episodes, talked about the benefits of nature, but I think it's a good reminder as a way to, encourage us to get our nature time.
Our daily nature adventure.
Our DNA. Go, Sonia.
Okay, great. So, as we know...
Just some of the basics.
Yeah, the basics. So, we've got some different intervals or doses of time that we recommend. So, 5 minutes is great, just during your day, during your work day, school day, pop outside. If you can get 5 minutes, you'll see a boost in your mood. It's positive emotions, like self-esteem and happiness. So that's great. Sometimes I just bask in the sun for 5 minutes. 15 minutes, we start to see drops in our cortisol levels, which is our stress hormone. So 15 minutes, about 16% drop in stress.
My goodness.
And then 90 to 120 minutes is also getting into a really good spot for reducing depressive symptoms and anxiety. So if you can do that once a day, ideally, but once a week at least, getting that chunk of time outside will really sort of help with your emotional and mental health state. And then the big one is 3 days in nature. If you're able to squeeze that in, either a long weekend or I don't know if you somehow can get like a Monday through Wednesday off. That's cool. Kudos to you. You start to see sort of like your brain reset and relax and restore. Your thinking becomes clearer. Your mental acuity becomes better. Focus, creative problem solving, etc. And lots of physical benefits as well for our immune system in that range too. So those are the general doses of nature, just as a reminder.
Yeah, good reminder.
Yeah.
Long story short, nature's good for you as a way to balance our intensely screen-heavy lives. Well, for some of us.
Yeah.
Maybe many of us.
For most of us, yeah.
Most of us, yeah. Okay, so thank you for that, Sonia. Those are some of the benefits of nature.
You're
good
welcome.
Reminder. And we were talking about this. So recently we went on a Nature Unplugged team retreat. It was really cool.
It was really cool.
We went to Mammoth Lakes area.
I'm actually wearing my Mammoth shirt right now.
It's a podcast.
I know. People can't see it. That's why I said it.
So we went to Mammoth as a team, and we stayed in a beautiful little spot. And I am kind of new to Mammoth. I've only been there once before, which is sort of all my outings have been really around the ocean, most of them. Mm-hmm. So it's new for me to go to the mountains. But Mammoth, if you're not familiar with it, it's a kind of a ski resort zone and summer outing resort zone in the Eastern Sierras. Located, it's about 7 hours from San Diego, kind of southeast of San Francisco, on the east side of the Great Sierra Nevadas. And it's a really beautiful spot. And when we were up there, we were like, okay, we did a little skiing, a little snowboarding, and of course team building and all that. But we were interested in exploring some new hikes, and we've got our resources, to find places that we want to go in new areas. And we're like, this could be a cool podcast to talk about.
Yeah. To
share with other people what we use to get outside. I mean, I think when you grow up in an area or when you live in an area for a long time, you just sort of by chance, you know where to go, you talk to people. But even in your own area, there's ways, there's resources to get, if you want to mix it up, if you want more variety, and if you want to go more often, there's some resources. So we're going to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, and I would say never underestimate the power of just like asking a bunch of people where they would recommend. First off, that's a great one. But if you want to be a little more technical or efficient, if you don't have the time to, walk around town and just ask a bunch of strangers where they would recommend you hike, we really love AllTrails.
Yeah, so this is going to be our first recommendation, official first recommendation. AllTrails, if you're not familiar with it, we highly recommend you check it out. It is tech related. It is an app. It's also, it's a website and an app. You can use it on your phone. You can use it on your computer. And really, we've been using it for a while. It's really cool. I want to do a little caveat here that I am typically not anti. That's a strong word. But I feel like downloading more apps and stuff to experience nature always felt a little funny to me.
Yeah, sure.
So, but AllTrails we've used it. We've vetted it.
I feel like this is one of the exceptions.
This is an exception. I mean, there's a few out there, but I think we don't want to get overwhelmed with tech when we're outside, but AllTrails is great. And really, it's a great way to find new hikes in your area. You can do a lot of stuff with the app. You can use it we've used it for navigation on longer treks and excursions. You can track your hikes so you know how far you went, your elevation and all that. But mainly, I think the main reason we use it is to find new places. So basically, you pull it up and let's do it right now. Let's check it out. What's in AllTrails?
Yeah. And I mean, it can tell where you're located and then recommends trails near you. So that's very helpful.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So it gives you a variety of trails in your immediate area, ranging, it gives you kind of easy, medium, or hard, moderate, hard, that kind of stuff. Gives you the length. And there's also, so I'm going to click in on a trail. This is a trail that we like in our local area. It's called Annie's Canyon Trail. One of our favorites. We knew about it before AllTrails.
We did.
I actually grew up going here when it was called the Mushroom Caves.
I don't think I've seen any mushrooms in that area. What am I missing?
Well,
yeah.
I don't know if it's about growing mushrooms there, Sonia.
Wow.
This is a family show.
Deeper understanding of that name now.
Yeah, it was kind of a place. You'd have to go. You went on this normal trail, and this was, back in the day. You'd go off trail, explore through. You'd kind of like hike. You'd climb under fallen trees and over fallen trees, and you'd find yourself in this mystical, sort of cave area. It was cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, fast forward a number of years, they've cleared away all the dead trees. And now you can hike it with your family.
And your dog, actually.
It's less mushroom related.
It's dog friendly.
I never did mushrooms at the Annie's Canyon. Just want to clarify that for the reader, for the listener. But apparently that's, Okay, so Annie's Canyon, I pulled it up. Annie's Canyon, this is nuts. It has, there's the star rating. It's got a, 4.5 stars, 1,262 reviews. That's incredible. So it basically gives you an overview of the hike, the length, the elevation gain, the type. Is it a loop? Is it an out and back? What's the deal? There's a map you can download or just look at. And there are reviews, which is cool. So you can read about, again, 4.5. Wow, that's great.
Well, what I like about the reviews is that, people write some short stuff, write some long stuff, but it also shows you how recently they wrote it. So it gives you a lot of good information about how accessible the trail is. Like, was it washed out? Is there snow? Was it really crowded?
Right.
Those sorts of things. And then also in the app, above the reviews is usually a little notice if anything's happening. So like you'll see COVID closures, you'll see like maintenance alerts, etc., to give you a sense of what's going on there too.
Yeah. And Andes Canyon, by the way, is closed.
Well, the slot part is closed.
The slot part, yeah.
The trail is still open, yeah.
It's a slot canyon, meaning a very narrow little canyon. I'll read a review. It was short, but interesting. Not going to lie, I did get a little claustrophobic going through the canyon. It got very narrow. So that's good to know. If you're someone who...
Yeah.
Oh, if you're someone who doesn't like confined spaces, maybe not the best hike for you. Because it does get kind of... It's not too crazy, but it does get pretty tight.
Well, that's interesting, too, because that suggests that the slot is open.
That's true.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We'll see.
Maybe
they just snuck up into it.
Yeah. So AllTrails is really cool. AllTrails. AllTrails. I'll spell it out.
That's helpful.
But their mission is really cool. It's like, it basically says, the beauty of nature doesn't need to be hard to find. Our goal is simple. Build the largest collection of hand-curated trail guides so you can explore the outdoors with confidence anytime, anywhere.
Yeah, and I like, in particular, that you can, one, record your hike, but you can also go offline. So you don't need service to use the app. I think initially you do, but you can download sort of the trail so that you can use it offline. And that's really helpful because a lot of times on these hikes, you'll pop in and out of service. And some of the ways we use it is we'll sort of start recording and activating the map in the trail and then put it in our pocket and then try to sort of navigate it ourselves with signs and paper maps. And then if we're feeling like we maybe got off track or we want to check in with where we're at, we can just pull out the phone, look at where we're at, and see if we've veered off the trail, if we need to circle back, etc. So it's sort of a great check and balance to those who might prefer a paper map, but also want the security of being able to actually see in real time where you are. Absolutely.
And I think this is a very good example of using tech in an intentional way. It's not like we're on our phone the whole time while we're using this, but it's a good backup and resource. And you just mentioned it, but we've done a few excursions recently.
Mm-hmm.
We were just out in another mountain area, local mountain, Palomar Mountain.
That's right.
Which I had never been to before.
Me either.
I always went to Mount Laguna and Julian and different mountains, but Palomar Mountain, which is great.
Cool, yeah.
About an hour away from where we live in San Diego. Really beautiful spot. And we were on a hike in the Palomar Mountain, is it the county park or state park?
State park.
State park. And had a paper map. We were prepared, had all our things. We went on this pretty long hike. We also had AllTrails as backup. And we ended up, we were in this big meadow area, which was sort of hard to navigate. There was kind of different little trails going different ways. And we ended up going kind of overshooting our turnaround and using AllTrails as a backup, and it was really helpful actually.
Yeah, we were like, we can't find, do we cross here? This doesn't look right on the map. And then we pulled up AllTrails and we're like, oh, we walked like 15 minutes past where we were supposed to turn around. Very helpful because it was starting to get a little questionable. Meadows are surprisingly hard.
Meadows are hard.
Yeah, meadows are hard to navigate.
So anyhow, we highly recommend AllTrails. And then also, as an additional recommendation, let's go more old school with it. What are some...
one other thing I want to say real quick about AllTrails. It also tells you like where to park, how to access the trailhead, because sometimes that's really confusing too. So
that's true.
I like that as well. Or sometimes there's multiple access points, so also very helpful.
That's a great point because that's often the biggest barrier for people is. You have your spot that you go and you have it all sorted out with where to park and where to go. And I think that's a really good point because you got to know where to go.
Yeah.
And so if a lot of these exactly it says like where to go for the trailhead and if there's multiple ones and where to park and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's
it's
big.
not fun to be driving around for 30 minutes trying to figure out how to access the trail. So
that's true.
Yeah.
That's a great point. And I think, in addition to using tech, we always recommend if you have, especially if you're kind of more out there, backcountry, so to speak, having a paper map with you as well.
Yeah, definitely.
It's I think great for so many reasons. Great to have something analog like that. It's a different way to engage rather than just on a screen. Mm-hmm. And it's really cool and fun, I think, to practice navigation skills, a paper map and a compass, to just, practice going from point to point, getting your directions down. Obviously, knowing which directions you're going. A map is a great way to go, like as Sonia said, I think go for using the map and you have AllTrails as backup if need be.
Yeah. My navigation skills are not stellar. So this is something I am actually working on.
I do a daily quiz for Sonia.
Which direction is north, south? But it's easy.
Which direction is that, Sonia?
When you can see the ocean, it's pretty easy. But
you have to know it at all times.
I know. I often don't.
Because you never know when someone's going to quiz you on the direction.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so AllTrails, highly recommend. Paper maps, highly recommend. Where do you get paper maps?
Yeah.
It's a good question.
Paper maps are great. You can, sometimes if you have a book of the area, there are paper maps in it. Often if you're at a county or state park, they'll have free paper maps available to navigate. And actually, AllTrails or other online resources allow you to print before you go. So you could do that as well.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I remember we were visiting the Knowles. Were you with me with this? We were visiting the Knowles headquarters in Tucson a while ago, and they had just bought some like crazy printer to print out like legit big giant paper maps.
Oh, cool.
I forget the exact deal, but it was super cool. I was like, we should get one. And then there was like it cost $10,000.
The printer?
Yeah, it was like some crazy giant printer, to like for the size and all that stuff.
Got it.
To be legit.
We'll just go to FedEx.
Maybe it wasn't $10,000, but it was a lot. Yeah. But yeah, that's a great point. AllTrails, you can print it out before you go. Or yeah, most state parks, county parks, national parks, of course, will have maps for you to check out. But it's nice to be prepared before you go. And then another thing is books. This is, if you're listening to this and you live in San Diego County, there are a lot of books on hiking in San Diego, or I imagine hiking in different places, but we're fortunate in San Diego to have this one particular book called Afoot and Afield in San Diego County. And it's been around for a long time. I think it's now in the 5th edition. I want to say since the 80s. I could confirm that.
You have no idea.
No idea, but it's been around for a while and been updated as the years have gone on and things have changed, new trails have developed and all that stuff. But basically, it's like every single trail in San Diego County, written description. It's basically AllTrails, but in a book. It's awesome. I think I will go to that. If I'm in San Diego, that's my first resource, is Afoot and Afield. I use AllTrails. That's cool too. But the book's great.
Yeah, it has more description of, the area, the development of the land, the geography, what animals like flora, fauna you'll find typically. And it is fun. It's fun to have a book that you can use also. And it wouldn't just have to be this too. I think Seb's going to talk about it a little bit more, but also any book that's going to enhance your experience outside, whether that's a birding book or like a local native plant book. All of those are great because once you can sort of start to identify things, it becomes a lot more fun.
Yeah, that's really true. I mean, depends on how hardcore I want to be, but I typically will have my birding book. Mm-hmm. We can talk more about that, but maybe not today. Binos, compass, my plant book. If I'm going hard, if I'm going
We're
full
gonna make
tilt.
a whole day of it, yeah.
And then Afoot and Afield. But then you're like,
then you've got a lot of books in your bag.
You got some weight.
It's weight training.
Yeah, that's right. It's cardio. Cardio and weight training. But what's so cool about, and I haven't done this research. Maybe this would have been good before the podcast, but it would be cool if there was Afoot in the Field in every county. I don't think there is.
Yeah.
Or some version of that. So that's something to check out. If you're not in San Diego County, is there some awesome go-to book resource?
Probably.
Yeah, there probably is. Every county's...
But it may not be a foot in the field. But
it may not be as good as our book, but it probably is pretty good.
Yeah.
But for example, so A Foot in the Field is really cool. It separates the county. San Diego County, if you don't know, it's a giant area. It's a, I don't know how many square miles, but it's big. It goes probably, I would say, I might just be totally guessing. Maybe 70. I'm going to go, it's like a square.
Okay.
75 miles north-south, maybe 100 miles east-west. I could be off on that. I could be off. We'll circle back. But anyway, it's a large area, and the book breaks it down into different sections. And within each section, like for example, the Laguna Mountains. It's a really, really cool area. It's about an hour from where we live. It's still in San Diego County. And the section starts out with like a really in-depth description of the area, some of the history, as Sonia mentioned, the geography, maybe some of the cultural geography, like the indigenous people who live there, and all sorts of stuff like that, animals that are commonly seen. And then it gets into the details of all the trails. There's a ton of good maps. Garnet Peak, this is one of our favorite hikes. 2.4 miles out and back, 1.5 hours. And it gives you distance, hiking time, elevation gain and loss, difficulty, trail use. Are dogs allowed? Is it good for kids? Best time. This is a year round. The agency who kind of oversees that area, that's interesting. And then gives you, lets you know where to go for like maps and notes, directions, and then a full-on description. It's really great.
It is great.
It's great. If you don't want to use an app, check out A Foot in the Field in San Diego County, if you live in San Diego County. One more shout out about San Diego County. I've said this before. It's the most biodiverse county in the lower 48 states. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Sonia's rolling her eyes because she's from Philadelphia.
Not the most biodiverse county.
We do have Valley Forge National Historical Site, which is home to where George Washington camped out for a summer.
Winter.
Anyway, more on that in another episode of the Philadelphia version. We've got 2 hikes. Just kidding.
Hey,
Philadelphia is cool.
Don't knock it.
Don't knock it. Yeah. No, Pennsylvania. Beautiful country.
Beautiful.
Beautiful country. I often think about when I see a deer in San Diego, it's a really big deal. And Sonia's always like, back where I lived, deer were a pest. They ate our gardens or whatever. They're just like all over the place.
Yeah.
Did you ever hunt a deer? Did you ever go deer hunting?
I did not deer hunt, though plenty of people did.
Interesting. Anything else on resources, Sonia?
I think that's a good summary of some resources.
Pretty good summary. So we got, again, go to Tech One, AllTrails. We'll link it in our show notes. Have paper maps. It's great. And then check out books in your area. And this is also, I love the books because you can spend some time, like if you're at home just hanging out. Sometimes I'll just read about other areas and trails versus being on your phone.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. You know what time it is?
What time?
It's time for some new news.
New news. Oh, bringing back new news.
New news has been out of circulation for a little bit, but we're bringing it back.
Cool.
I hope this is going to be a regular feature on our podcast. New news, of course, if you're not familiar with it, it's NU News, standing for Nature Unplugged News, not NEW News. But it's also sometimes new, as in NEW. Get it?
Sort of. Got it.
NU.
No, I got it. Yeah,
NU.
New news.
New news. Okay, so the new news for this week, I just saw this. My sister actually just sent me this story. There was an octopus attack in Australia, in Western Australia.
Are octopus attacks uncommon?
I think they are highly uncommon.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think the reason why this is interesting for new news is because I'm obsessed with this documentary. You may have seen it, called My Octopus Teacher. Have we talked about that?
Yes.
Okay. My Octopus Teacher is really great, so definitely check that out if you haven't seen it. But it's about a man who has a sort of
a friendship,
a deep friend, beyond a friendship, Sonia.
Okay.
It's spiritual.
Sure.
It's a spiritual connection with a little octopus. Yeah. Does it have a name?
I don't think he named it.
I don't think he named it, but I have this sort of. It changed my view of what an octopus was, and it was this sort of like. I mean, I think they still are highly intelligent, almost like alien-like creatures, but really benevolent, kind-hearted. Is this anthropomorphic? anthropomorphism, giving it human qualities, for sure. But anyway, I just saw this. We won't go into too much details. We'll link it in the show notes. But there was a guy, I think he was near Perth, Australia, so west coast of Australia, swimming and exploring the beach with his kids. Saw an octopus jump out of the water, gets his phone out to film it, and he was subsequently attacked.
The octopus jumped out of the water?
Yeah, jumped out of the water, then attacked him. I think attacked him. No, I think he was in the water.
So the octopus did like a dolphin dive out of the
Dolphin dive, and he pulled his phone out, and then he was attacked.
He had his phone in the water?
I think it was nearby.
Did you capture this?
I think it's on
video?
It's on the line. Yeah.
But it's like a video footage?
I think there's video footage of it.
Is the guy okay?
He's okay. He sustained some injuries. You can see.
Oh, it's his neck. Dang.
He got like just tentacle whapped in the arm and neck.
Was it a very big octopus?
That's a good question. I haven't actually seen the video, but we'll post it.
Yeah. How interesting. Yeah. I think I would be pretty scared if I encountered an octopus in the wild. They sort of scare me a little bit.
Yeah, so I think the moral of the new news for this week is, octopus, they may be intelligent and very special, but they can also attack you. So beware.
I think that goes for most wildlife, right? Like keep a safe distance. Marvel at the wonder of the wildlife at a safe distance. Don't approach for a picture.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's the new news for this week.
Sounds great.
Just some octopus knowledge for you all. Well, that'll wrap up this episode of the Nature Unplugged podcast. Thank you so much for listening. You can find our episodes on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, and any other podcast platforms. We're now on YouTube even. Oh my goodness. We'd love it if you could take a moment to rate and subscribe on Apple Podcasts and like us on YouTube. It really helps our channel a ton. Be sure and visit www.natureunplugged.com for more information about our coaching, workshops, presentations, and retreats, as well as other wonderful free resources like this podcast. You can find more detailed show notes on our website. You just click free resources, then click podcasts. Well, thank you so much for listening. In the meantime, remember to experience nature unplugged.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Things change like seasons out of our control. If you think you should go, I will let you go.